At the time of this video, I'm 35 years old. If I was in my 20s or early 30s, this is the advice I wish I had given myself. So first things first, amidst all of the talk around entrepreneurship, I think something that's important to remember is if you're not an entrepreneur, don't be an entrepreneur. And what I mean by this is there's a lot of hype around building businesses. And I talk to a lot of people and they're asking me for help starting their thing. And they're instantly worried about, how can I go and start my first business, Matt? I want to make sure that I'm just working on it though 3 hours a day. I can't help but think to myself, hey, just stop in your tracks right there. You may know me because sometimes I talk about systems that allow me to work less, make more. The truth is though, when I was first starting, I had to learn aggressively. I had to put myself in crazy scenarios. I had to make a ton of mistakes. It didn't come easy. If you're going and you're starting something and day one, you're looking for the easy route, just stop. Pack it in, go get that 9-to-5 job. This ain't for you. The life of an entrepreneur, it's not going to be easy. And if you're trying to avoid the hard things, you're going to find yourself actually living a harder life. Now, there's this quote I love from Naval Ravikant: easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life. And so in your 20s and 30s, make those hard choices. Go and start that business. Go and put the time that's necessary into it. Go and reach out to those mentors that could maybe help you. Go put yourself in uncomfortable scenarios that help you to level up. Do the hard things. You're going to thank yourself later for that. All right, so let's move on to something a little controversial here. Unpopular opinion: avoid lazy people. They're going to leech off of you. They're going to waste your time. They're going to bring you problems, not solutions. They're going to weigh you down. You need to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with weapons, the kind of people that when you're around them, you grow. The saying that you're the product of the 5 people that you surround yourself with, it's true. You want to make sure that you're in rooms of people where ideally you're the dumbest person in that room. Join that community. Create your own group of founders that are helping one another. Join a mastermind. Anything that can help you go and level up with others. The truth is that you are your greatest investment. 95% of my success over the last 15 years has been the result of the people that I've surrounded myself with and really viewing myself as an investment that had to keep on learning, growing, reading, surrounding myself with mentors, coaches, whatever it took to get that next skill. Lazy people are like energy vampires. They're just going to suck the life out of you. And if you find them in your business, get rid of them. I know this sounds a little bit harsh, and it is. It's supposed to be, right? You don't have time to waste. Do an audit, right? If in your company you got people that just aren't making the cut, now's the time to cut them. If you got friends that when you leave those conversations, you kind of feel drained, now's the time to cut them and focus on people that are going to actually help you grow. This leads me to the next point, which is you need to blaze your own path. My dad's a dentist, and I thought that I would follow my dad's footsteps until I went to take your kid to work day. I saw old Dorothy take out her dentures and sit in the dental chair, and I realized I am definitely not going to be a dentist. Ended up going to business school. Business school tried to program me into becoming an accountant, or maybe a marketer, or maybe an investment banker, or a management consultant. And I said, fuck that. One thing I'm super grateful that I did in my 20s is not listen to the sort of projections others were putting on me in terms of the career path I should take. Sure enough, after graduating from university, I started my first business, BitMaker, where we trained full stack software engineers and got them jobs at tech companies across Canada. I had no idea what I was doing. I made thousands of mistakes. But the one thing I would always remind myself of, any single day working on BitMaker, I was learning more than the rest of my friends that had taken those standard paths in 1 year. When you're blazing your own path, I think that what you're doing is you're just maximizing your learning velocity. You're putting yourself in really uncomfortable scenarios. You're following your heart, your soul, and your true calling in life. I think on a personal level, it leads you to being way more fulfilled. And on a professional level, all those uncomfortable situations you're putting yourself in, maybe where you feel like you're getting into opportunities that are way beyond your current capacity or capability, that is where the magic happens. My biggest regret over the last probably 10 years is that I didn't start building an audience sooner in my businesses. The truth is that your audience is an appreciating asset. Now, let me double click into what I mean by this. We live in a day and age where people follow people, then they follow brands. Your ability to go and build your brand is going to open so many doors for you. We live in a world where everyone is a media company. You are a media company. By creating organic content, you go and you become a magnet for opportunities. You become a magnet for your dream customer. You become a magnet for the best talent out there, and you become a magnet for luck. It's hard to see it at the point in time. You oftentimes may think, oh, growing an audience, I'm not sure. I don't have a skill yet. Your personal brand will reveal the product that you need to build. When you go and you're putting content out there, you're creating an audience, people come to know and love you for your interests, your passion, your achievements, your lessons, your systems, playbooks, blueprints. What ends up happening is that you don't actually need to know the product that you're going to offer these people day one. You're going to have people going and asking you, hey, I love this piece of content that you put out. Do you have any product around that? Or can I buy that from you? And you'll start to get these signals from your audience because you're putting yourself out there. What I see is two kinds of founders, right? Type 1 founders say, I don't have a product yet, so I'm not even going to start building my personal brand. Type 2 founders go, I don't have a product yet, so I'm going to start building my personal brand now, and I'm going to start listening to the audience I create to learn what they want and then build that. Type 2 founders end up building something way more valuable, having way more fun. And I can attest to it because this is how I've lived the last 5 years of my life. And you don't need to build it on the platforms that everyone else is building it on. If you like to do text-based stuff, pursue X, pursue LinkedIn. If you're more into video like this, go on to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It doesn't matter, just get started. One of the most underrated skills I honestly wish I had taken more seriously earlier in my life is writing. Writing is a superpower. Your emails are writing. X is writing. Audience growth is writing. Building a newsletter is writing. Making a hire is writing. Charting out your vision, your mission, your values. This is all writing. Copywriting is one of the most valuable skills you can have because when you think about it, about 99% of what you do day to day as a founder is writing. You're writing to teammates on Slack to motivate them. You're writing to a potential customer to try and close them. The ability to go and convince people with words is a game changer. For those of you that are looking to get started with this and are like, okay, sounds good, you've convinced me, dude. I would go and suggest reading the Adweek Copywriting Handbook by Joseph Sugarman. This book is going to give you all the deep dive principles on writing copy that sells and write copy that's compelling. If you need more tips on this, go and check out my X account as an example. I believe that X is like a copywriting gym. And this is a great place where you can see the best copywriting from your favorite creators. You can go follow me there, go follow other people that you love, people like James Clear, Naval Ravikant, Ryan Holiday. These are some legends you probably want to check out and just see how they speak. There's a big difference between that person that just writes some massive paragraphs to try and convey some point. And it's not that their point sucks, it's that the writing sucks. But what you want to do is learn how to write like you speak, use short sentences, keep things punchy. When you write out stuff, be able to make it scannable. And what you'll start to see is that all this writing you're doing is going to just have that much more of an ROI. It's going to move the needle forward more in your life. It's going to help transform things at record speed. We live in a world where so much of what you're doing is remote. You're operating remote teams, closing remote deals, and building a remote business. Writing is more important than ever. Don't sleep on this skill. Now's the time to get this right. Taste is the ultimate competitive advantage. This is more true than ever. With AI going and eating the world right now, more and more skills are honestly just going to be automated over the next decade and longer. So the key thing is what really sets you apart. It is your taste. It's your style, your uniqueness. It's you. Now, when I look back on my 20s, many years I was just insecure. I had certain skills, certain ways I like to do things, but I didn't listen to that inner voice. Instead, I just followed the herd in many cases. Create a business just like someone else. I would create a piece of content just like that other person. Meanwhile, I had great ideas and I should have just had the courage to go and make them. This is your reminder that if you have an idea, you have a piece of content you've been wishing you put out, you had that business that is kind of odd, but you really want to start it, just go for it. There's something unique about that taste you have versus putting that aside and being 40 years old to finally pursue that. Now is the time to get after that thing. All right, so let's take a step back here for a second. I want to let you in on an equation for success that you probably haven't heard about before. Peace plus profit plus purpose equals success. Peace is one of the most important things in life. When I think about hiring someone as an example in my companies, Beyond their metrics, their KPIs, their experience, I ask myself, is bringing this person on my team going to help me sleep at night? Now, a lot of founders, they start building businesses, they forget about this aspect. And sure enough, you fast forward 5 years and they're running a business that's running them into the ground. And so don't forget about your piece. Prioritize that. The next aspect is profit. We live in a day and age where everyone's just talking about their revenue growth. When we think about profit, you want to be looking at the bottom line. How much are you actually taking out of your business every single month? As I've gotten older, I've gotten so much more maniacal about profits. What I see oftentimes though from the founders that I help and I coach or I advise is that they're not even looking out for themselves. And sadly too, no one's looking out for the founder. Investors will tell you to grow faster. Your team's going to look for raises, but at the end of the day, who is looking out for you? And what you should be looking at is how much money am I taking out of my business per month? And does this ladder up to the goals that I have? I've talked enough about the cash. Let's move on to the third part here, purpose. I was talking with my good friend Steve, the founder and CEO from Pray.com, about 7 years ago, and he said something to me that I've never been able to forget. He went to me when I was considering different sort of business lines I could go and start and a few things I was building. He's like, Matt, take a step back for a sec and ask yourself, what would you do if you knew you would be successful? So think about that. Not thinking about what I could do that would make me the most money. No. What do you want to do? For me, what I found most useful is to really journal around what I'm good at, what the world needs, and what I can be paid for. And the intersection of these things gives me a lot of insights into the stuff that really fires me up that's in my calling in life. Helping founders, building systems, growing communities, building distribution day one, traveling, writing, journaling, design, copywriting. These are the things, as you can probably tell right now, that fire me up. Take the risk, take the plunge. You're young. Now is the time to go and live a life of purpose. One thing that I've learned as I've gotten older, health over everything. Yes, everything. My belief is that healthy founders build healthy businesses. What are the habits that have helped me go and level up over the years? There's a lot of specific things I'm going to hit you with right now that you may want to consider. I'm not saying you need to do the whole stack I'm about to say, but hopefully at least you can take a few things away. Number one, I have a coach. I have a health coach, Sadie, who helps me with all of my core markers, making sure that I'm dialed in from a blood work perspective. I have an actual business coach, Ryan Begelman, who goes and helps me with all of the intricate details of my business, from people to systems to growth, making sure that I'm just dialed in there. And he also serves as almost like a business therapist in some senses, helping me also with just like the hard things that come up as you're building a business. Similarly, I have a therapist. Inevitably, it doesn't matter what business you're building and how experienced you are. We've all got edges, right? We've all got things that we could just use some help with. On a more physical basis, you need to make sure that you're doing something every day to be active. When I was younger, I used to think, okay, I'm going to be active 4 days a week. That's not the move, right? You should just go and architect your perfect day every day. And a piece of that perfect day should be working out, should be some light stretching, hopefully, should be eating healthily, meditating in some capacity, reading your vision so you're constantly clear on that, surrounding yourself with good people because good people, in a sense, are great medicine. Lastly, I think the thing that I took for granted when I was younger was sleep. Sleep hygiene, it's something that just gets overlooked so much. Just the amount of work that sometimes we put in as founders, the thing that we are first to neglect, right, is just a good night's sleep. And so doing your best to get into some sort of sleep routine, hitting the sack, say at around 11 p.m., getting up every day around 6 a.m., and just keeping that pattern is going to keep you in the game. I see a lot of founders that go and have these sort of sporadic productivity cycles. They'll be super productive the first week of the month, and then they kind of fall off for 3 weeks. When you're healthy, when you're feeling good, when you're sleeping good, basically every day consistently, right? You're able to just hammer, move things forward, and stay in the game, just get a ton more traction consistently. Okay, so practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. I see way too many people, and I've been guilty of it myself, where they become so outcome focused. How can I go and sell my company for $50 million? How can I make $10 million a year? These are all outcomes. The reality is sometimes we really can't control those as much as we think. So what can you control? You can control the daily process, showing up, waking up, finishing those 7 tasks that you had gone and scheduled that day, coming prepared the next day with 7 things you're going to get done, doing just the daily rhythm of things that are necessary to ladder up to those potential outcomes. I found myself when I was too outcome focused as a founder, honestly, it caused me to be super depressed, anxious, because all I could think about is, oh man, I got to sell this business for 50 mil or I'm a failure. The truth is that when you're just obsessing around the outcomes, you're miserable and you're really not focusing on what you can control in the given moment. About 7 years ago, I started shifting my focus drastically, thinking a lot more about, okay, what can I do every single day that I enjoy and that's going to move the needle forward? Oftentimes, this looks like interviewing new hires, writing, sharing different thinking on platforms like X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, building my personal brand, launching products, building community, and just really helping founders day after day after day. It ain't always sexy, just the daily process is where the magic really lies. And I think if you stack up good days, good weeks, good months, good years, those outcomes inevitably just take care of themselves. This last one is probably the most important one. You're going to hear a lot of advice from people out there, including me just now. The reality is though, learning the hard way is learning. In life, there are no shortcuts. If there are any, it's surrounding yourself with amazing people, building great systems, and building a personal brand. But aside from those things, right? Sometimes you just got to go headfirst into opportunities, make a bunch of mistakes, and learn. I see a lot of people, say it's someone that's going and selling, and they get into a given week and they've gone and tried to close 20 people and 19 people said no. And they go and they come to me and they're like, I feel so depressed and so down. I got in front of 20 people, 19 said no, only 1 said yes. I feel like I'm hardly moving the needle forward here. That person needs to change their mindset. Stack up those no's. If you get 19 no's in a week, try to triple the amount of no's you get the next week. Inevitably, with every no you get, you're going to get a hell of a lot more yeses and refine your skills over time. Don't be so afraid of failing. Don't be so afraid of mistakes. Don't be so afraid of getting a no. I almost started making a game of this when I was 21, and it was probably one of the biggest superpowers I developed. I would find myself going and making lists in the thousands of people that I could go and get in front of for my businesses. People that I could sell, people that I could go and have them become my mentor, people that could become partners of the business, kind of people that I could go and hire. And I made an effort of emailing 1,000, 2,000 of these people every single month, setting up, 7, 8 meetings and just getting after it. When I did these tasks, I noticed in my mind sometimes this voice that would tell me, is this really a good idea, Matt? Do you even know this person? This person's probably gonna get back to you, Matt, and just think what the hell are you doing reaching out to me? And I used to play with that voice versus listening to it, shutting my computer down and going, you know what, you're right. I'm just gonna stop. I would say, no, hell no. You've got this. Send that email. And in spite of those limiting beliefs and that little voice in my head, I would just do the thing. And eventually this becomes a muscle. Fast forward to today, I'm 35. Every day I find myself doing stuff that scares me, that terrifies me, that I really have no business doing. I talked about my vision being to help 100 million founders. A part of that is exciting. A part of it sounds completely crazy. By going and taking action, you open up a world of opportunity. So fight those voices in your head that are telling you to play small. Fight the voices in your head that are telling you, you're not meant for those bigger opportunities. Just go and get after it. So for those of you that are ready to go and take action right this second, which, you're my kind of people, I'm going to go and give you the free system right now around peace, profit, and purpose. This is the success equation. I talk a lot about really dialing in, peace, profit, and purpose. This is a major intention for me over 2025 and has been the last decade of my career, really building a calm company. So I want to go and show you how exactly I dial in each one of these areas. I get it, right? Building a business can be exhausting. You are potentially super exhausted, making money, but missing life. Inevitably, there's so much more to life than just business, right? And making money. It's only going to get you so far. And while I understand it's important, so are things like time freedom and abundance and mental freedom and being able to just control your time and live life with people that you love, right? And so what I want to go and do here is help you really dial in all of the aspects. And I'm going to show you just how I think about this. So I think there's going to be a lot of hidden gems here for you. There has to be a better way, right? Than just making money, but having life just suck the soul and the joy out of you. So what if you could have peace, right? Time freedom, mental clarity, and calm days, right? Isn't that the zest of life? Profit, right? Making sure it's predictable, being able to do it with zero ads, all organic, which is, my superpower and what I love to do. And most importantly, just have fun along the way, right? I love adventures. I love traveling, as you probably can tell. Just got back from Japan, amazing powder there. Got an epic mountain biking trip this month, currently in Bali, Indonesia. I head out to Austin, Texas, then to Wyoming to go explore the Tetons, as well as Yellowstone National Park, bringing my parents out there. So many amazing adventures, right? Life is about having fun and doing things you enjoy with amazing people. On the purpose side of things, right? You probably want to go and you have dreams of impacting millions of people, building a legacy, right? And feeling alive, waking up every single day excited to go and work on your business, to make an impact on your customers, to work with an amazing team. These are the things that really make a life worth living. So I don't think it's either or here, right? I don't think it's peace or profit or purpose. No, here, as part of the Founder Freedom Movement on this channel, we believe in abundance, right? You can have it all. And this is my belief, right? I stopped telling myself years ago that I had to choose between one of these. I can have an amazing business, but I'm going to have to sacrifice all my relationships. Screw that. You don't need to accept that programming from society, right? You have the power to go and create a business you love, to create amazing relationships you love, and to live a purpose, to have peace, to have harmony, to have tranquility. This is a system that I use to make this all possible. So let's dive in here. On the peace side, right? It all comes down to systems plus delegation plus automation. So the morning fortress, okay? How you start your day is really what's going to dictate, the rest of your productivity and your happiness. So every single day, I really have a single focused task, right? What's the biggest task that I need to get done that day to look back on it and know, damn, I really achieved some big things today. The next aspect then is going in first thing in the morning when my dopamine is highest, when I'm feeling good, when I'm clear, to go and spend 3 hours of deep work, really punching that task forward and getting it done. I put my phone on airplane mode. I eliminate all distractions, no meetings before noon, and I have my vibey SoundCloud or Spotify playlist playing, which, is just a great way to kind of dial it in and just to have fun, right? Who doesn't love listening to great music and getting important tasks done? I think here, as part of this movement, this is kind of a key part of how we spend our time in the mornings. So let's talk about the decision frameworks you need to be making, right? You should be doing only the things that you can do in your zone of genius. For me, that's things like building systems, hiring A players, building audiences, creating really creative content, dialing in the taste and the details across the company so that I'm inspiring 100 million founders just like you to accomplish your dreams through proven systems. And anything that does not exist in that zone of genius, I need to go and delegate that to other legends on my team who can do those things probably a lot better than me, right? I need to delete things that are unnecessary, focus on less, but better, only doing the things that, I should be doing. At the end of the day, saying no to more things, right? No is a superpower. Default to no so you can focus radically on the things that are going to be the big needle movers in your life and in your business. Things like, growing the revenue, growing cash flows, building systems for freedom. These things matter. Going and, setting up that 10th feature in your product or that new shiny toy that could exist, in your business. Ignore that stuff, delete that stuff so you can focus on the few things, the critical few, they're going to move things forward for you. Next aspect here is then delegating, right? A big part of what I spend my time on is building a team of weapons, people that are able to 10x my businesses. And so I delegate to these people really the core things that they're amazing at, which then frees up my time to do the things that I'm really skilled with. This is an example of what my team looks like at Founder OS. And so I have a team of people that I'm delegating different things to that are able then to go and orchestrate those things much better than I can even do. So I can focus on peace, I can focus on creativity, I can focus on building more scalable systems, I can focus on dazzling founders and doing the things that really fire me up, that are in my calling in life. The more that you're able to spend every day working on what you love to do, I think the more you produce everyday retirement. Everyday retirement, or EDR, is really when every single day you're working on stuff that even if you were retired, you'd be doing that exact same stuff. So for me, that's like writing, reading, traveling, coaching founders, building systems, creating organic content, being inspired and dialing in different creative projects, creating amazing videos just like this one. Those are the things that I love to do. And that's what everyday retirement looks like for me. So I'm in my zone, I'm making money, I'm having fun, I'm working with amazing people. I never want to quit this life. On the Peace tech stack side, I love Text Expander, Asana for project management, Loom to make sure that I'm recording core tasks that other people can do and then I can delegate it. I use Google Docs and just keep things simple to document every single system across my companies. And then Claude is the AI that I love the most these days to go and help me carry out a lot of these systems at record speed so I can scale myself. Because at the end of the day, AI is an amazing productivity tool that can help you really go and scale a lot faster in your business, and you should be leveraging it. So energy is everything as a founder, right? Strong founders build strong businesses. Healthy founders build healthy businesses. And so I'm meditating every day for focus. I'm moving every day to dial in my energy. These days, I'm doing about 5 HIIT workouts a week at a gym nearby called Beyond. I also go and I do about 3 yoga sessions a week. So that's kind of my current health regimen. I then use my peak hours of the day, generally from around 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. for creativity and building cool shit. I take nature breaks every single weekend, watch the sunset daily, do things that just give me a little bit of rest, relaxation. I like to get massages 3 times a week right now. And I have rest periods for recovery, right? If you want to be an entrepreneur, entrepreneurs are athletes. And so recovery is important, right? You can't just be on all the time. So making sure that you're scheduling time to just rest, relax, and recharge. Along the way to growth, right? I think a lot of times founders look at it as a top chart here, right? Where it's just steady growth the whole time. But what I've learned over building businesses for 14 years is that you got to come to grips with the reality, right? Stop trying to think of every single day it's just this linear growth. The truth is, it's up and down, right? And that's okay. That's just how it goes. And so, even though it doesn't feel like progress, really convince yourself that you are making progress. Sometimes you need to take a couple steps back to move a few steps forward. So accept that and move along. Along the way, I love to have my vision handy at all times. This is the screen on my iPhone. So every time when I open up that phone, maybe a couple times a day, probably more likely 30 times a day, I have that vision handy there that I can go and visit to remind me of what I'm doing here, why I'm doing this, the kind of life I'm trying to architect, inspiring founders, building an inspiring life, unlocking my creative potential, helping others. These are the sort of things that matter to me. And the more I can subconsciously even remind myself of that vision, the more I can keep on dialing it into my life, because I think about 95% of your life is your subconscious mind dictating what you're going to do. So you want to make sure that you're basically feeding that subconscious thought with the clear vision, the slides in your life that you want to make sure you're living out. And you'll be remarkably surprised at how quickly you start to manifest that vision. So on the profit side, let's get into it here. For me, when I'm creating content is always a core revenue driver of my companies. I've never spent a dime on ads. And when I think about making content, 50% is to grow the given channel, and 50% then is niche content that drives people down to then work with one of my portfolio companies. So the content GPS is the core system that I use here, which brings me enormous amounts of peace, profit, and fun, right? So going and making sure that I'm across all platforms, creating the highest quality content possible, driving people to a newsletter, driving those folks to applications, to customers, and then getting them through a dazzling experience to love the product so much that they go and tell 5 friends. The more dialed in this whole system is, the better off my life, the better off my business is. Again, this is the most powerful system I've ever discovered over the last 14 years building businesses. I have my content calendar dialed in because the more consistent my content, the more I'm generating eyeballs, generating leads, and building the profit of my companies. In addition to that, I make sure that I've gone and mapped out using FigJam, which is a Figma product, every single step of our funnel at FounderOS and at every single one of my portfolio companies, so that people, when they're inside, they get different emails at different times that are tracked and sent all via HubSpot, which is the core CRM that we use at FounderOS. So when they go and apply, they get certain emails. When they join, they get certain emails. When they abandon a cart or abandon an application, they get into certain email flows. So at every single step of the way, we have about 80 different emails mapped out in about 150-page Google Doc that no matter what stage you're in, you get emails that are tailored to you to move you to the next stage in the process so that no one gets clogged up and there are no bottlenecks along the way of our content GPS and our email sequences. And this is the kind of stuff that we help founders with inside of FounderOS. So on the purpose side, this is kind of what it all comes down to, right? We're all after building an amazing legacy and day after day being jazzed up around what we're doing. And it all comes down to me to an ikigai, right? Ikigai is this Japanese concept that I discovered about a decade ago. I was traveling through Banff National Park on Christmas of all days, and randomly I slid off the road because I hit some ice and I crashed into a snowbank. So I was stranded there in the middle of Banff, middle of nowhere, over Christmas. And I came across this book called Ikigai, and it changed my life. Ikigai is a Japanese concept that refers to your reason for being, or, what is really your purpose in life. It really sits at the intersection of what you love, what you can be paid for, what you're great at, and what the world needs. And the center there is your Ikigai, which is the thing that gets you fired up to get after it every single day. So this is what my Ikigai looks like, right? And in the center for me are things like building teams, scaling the distribution of my companies, building systems, traveling, coaching founders, really helping people unlock their creative potential. And so every single day, every week, I'm focused on optimizing and really kind of dialing it in even more, really making sure that every day I'm maximizing my Ikigai, right? Because I think that this is the reason that I was put on earth, was to inspire people, to help people with systems, to give them more freedom. And so every day I'm focused on how can I maximize that purpose in life. So what is your Ikigai, right? And I would recommend that you go and fill this out and put down 2 bullet points at least in each one of those 4 quadrants. Look at the patterns and what's at the center there. That's your Ikigai. And how can you go and lean into those things more in your life? So here's an easy template that you can go fill out. That'll also be linked below in the description. You can go and download that for free so you can go and dial in your purpose. And I'll be giving you this whole resource as well. So go and check that out via the link in the description. This is just the beginning, okay? And this process of dialing in your peace, your profit, your purpose is an ongoing exercise, right? You're never really done. It's a mindset, it's an intention that you will continue to lean into over your life, really. So are you ready to make an impact? If you want some help actually dialing in these areas in your business, you should definitely go and check out FounderOS via the link in the description, or go to founderos.com/apply. I'd love to help you dial in your peace, your profit, your purpose this year. Let's win together. Welcome to the Founder Freedom Movement. It's been a pleasure helping you here. Like and subscribe, and let's win together.